Computer. Let's go. So welcome along to the presentation for today, or for the class for today. And our topic for today is on perfumes and scent in particular. I wanted to share about scent, and you've only got a few slides to go through. And then what I'll do is when this is finished, I will upload the recording to YouTube and send you the link along with a little bit of a blurb on each. Now, I wanted to do this topic for the month of November because I really feel that we're coming up close to Christmas. People like to give other people nice scents or, you know, just different things for Christmas. And I want us to look after ourselves and each other, right? So this is a big thing for me in terms of what I became aware of, and I'm sure it will be for you as well. So how can perfumes heal or harm us? Everything that we put on our skin can heal or harm us. But before we get started, like I said, welcome along. My goal with this presentation is just awareness. I want you to understand that once you become aware of what it is that you are purchasing and putting onto your skin, or maybe putting into the air in your homes, the stronger you will become, and then you can make informed decisions when you're purchasing different things. So before we get started, really, for many people that are watching this, you don't actually know who I am. You haven't met me in person. Some of you have. So my name is Bea, and I'm a naturopathic doctor by trade. I've got quite a few different qualifications and study quite diversely. And I just have a really strong interest in making sure that people feel really good. I like people to be happy. And I remember that way before I ever got into natural remedies and natural medicines, and I was completely part of society, that I still wanted people to be happy. I just wanted people to feel good. And I would often think about purchasing a coffee shop, for example, because it appeared that everybody was happy when they had a coffee, right? So that's my bugbear. That's who I am. I'm here to help other people. And one of the ways that I can do that is by sharing knowledge, and that's what this is. Now we're going to jump right into this. So I hope that you're ready. I'm just going to double check, see if we've got anybody else that wants to join in. Oh, beautiful. All right. So anyone that missed out can just get the recording afterwards. We're going to jump straight into science. Now, if you're not into science, that's fine. I will make this as easy to understand as possible. But I wanted to get right into this at the beginning of this presentation because we're talking about our body and the way that it absorbs different things, because this is pivotal, to perfume and aroma. So let's look up here on the left-hand side of the screen, up the top here, where I've got the blue dot circling around this lovely square. This square is a chunk of skin. It's not really, it's an image, but, you know. The importance of this picture is for me to share with you, for those of you that don't actually know this, the skin is the largest organ in our body, okay? And everything that we put on our skin, we absorb, and it goes into our system. How does it do that? See these blue and red sections down the bottom here? They mark our arteries and our veins in biological pictures. That's what the red and the blue is. If you have a look in the center, you can see that the red and the blue goes all around the body, right? That's how everything moves around. So with our skin being the largest organ of the body, what we want to be aware of is that whatever we topically put onto the skin will go into the bloodstream and into the system. It goes through all the layers. This is a hair shaft, hair follicle. Your entire body is covered with hair, tiny, tiny little hairs. And even if you get rid of the hairs, you still have the follicle where the hair came out of. And that's like a pore, and it gives direct access into your system. Goes in through the layers. You can see there's blood and arteries, blood vessels and arteries and systems all the way through. There's glands. Yeah, there's all this stuff, right? It's not a biology class. What happens, but, is that if we put a perfume or a scent or a cologne or a deodorant or a lotion onto our skin, we are effectively eating it, all right? You're observing it, absorbing it. It's coming in through the skin. So now that you understand that, I want to take you across to the right-hand side of the screen and into the center a little bit as well. So over on the right here, we have a picture of a person, and all of the green that's all over it is the lymphatic system, lymph nodes, okay? We have lymph nodes in behind our knees. We have lymph nodes in our armpits. We have lymph nodes in our groins. We have lymph nodes, lots of lymph nodes in our neck. This center picture up the top here, the difference between the blood and the lymph, it actually shows it a lot better as well. You can see here in the neck, we've got the lymph nodes into the jaw as well, tonsils behind the ears, in our thoracic, which is the center of our chest. And if you think about where you put your perfume, this is why I started with this slide. Where do you actually apply your perfume or cologne? Face and neck is often a spot where people will put a dab of perfume, okay? So going back to this, remembering that the skin is the biggest organ in the body, we are absorbing it into our system. Now, it's one thing to absorb it into the bloodstream, okay? It's another thing to absorb it into the lymphatic system. Why? As I've got down here, this is from a lecture, but down the bottom here, the lymphatic system helps with our immune system. It is so important. And if you get run down, or if you have something go quite wrong in your system and your immune response flares up, so the immune is the way that the body helps to fight disease or viruses, then what will sometimes happen is your lymph nodes will swell, and people will often notice the lymph nodes swelling in the groin or in the throat, of the tonsils as well, but you'll often notice them or under your armpits, they flare up, right? So that tells you that your body is not happy, that your immune system is not great, and that something's going on the inside and it needs to be fixed up. This is why the lymphatic system is so important, and it's why you need to be very aware of what it is that you're putting on your skin, okay? Because this is how the perfumes that we use can heal. So there's two layers to this, and I'm going to give you some blends and combinations at the end that will really help with anything that might be happening in your system as well. So on the other side here, so we've gone through all these pictures except for this one, which talks about lymphatic drainage. The reason I put this in is because of the color. So you can absorb through the skin, go straight into the bloodstream, okay? Because that hair follicle connects right into the bloodstream, as well as going in through the fatty tissue and all that sort of stuff and the different layers of the skin. The other thing, but, is that you can also absorb through the lymph system, lymphatic system, through your lymph nodes, which are at primary points for where you are going to spray a perfume, spray a deodorant, apply a perfume, apply a deodorant, apply lotions. And then on top of all of this, okay, is the aerosols that we inhale, or the air fresheners and the scented candles in our houses. So there's those to think about as well, because they come in through your nose. Lymphatic drainage picture down the bottom there shows all your little blood cells and tissue cells floating around, all of those three different coloured tubing, if you like. And don't worry too much about the wording, but basically what you are looking at there is the way that the lymphatic system in the green works with and tangles up with the blood system and the circulatory system, the cardiovascular system even more. Okay, so really, really important that you're across this. Next screen. Next screen. It's going to click for me. Alrighty, let's have a look at this. Now, we'll spend a little bit of time on this slide as well, because I want you to make an informed decision. So I'm not saying that you need to go out there right away and start making your own perfumes. What I really want to do with this is, again, awareness. And I want to encourage you to start looking at what it is that you already use. Now, I've just taken these pictures off the internet. The bottom left and the bottom right talk to you about particular toxins or particular ingredients in deodorants, perfumes, air fresheners, colognes, those sort of things that you need to be aware of, that you want to start looking for. And they're things that ideally you don't want to put on your skin. You don't want it in your system, all right? So in the deodorants on the left-hand side, you can see parabens, silica, fragrances, artificial colours. The aluminium is a big thing, and there's a lot of research into that now. So there are research articles that have been done linking aluminium to issues with your lymph nodes and issues with your immune system, which can potentially also then lead to cancer and other disease in the body, and the direct correlation between where breast cancer forms and where women will apply deodorant. There's a research paper on that as well, because you tend to have a breast cancer develop on the outer sides of the breast tissue, and it's really close to the underarm and the lymph side of things. So you can put that together yourself if you want to, like that correlation. You can link the two together, but just be aware that there's a lot of research into this now, and it has been over the years, and there's a lot of information out there for you. I'm going to go through in a minute the toxins, common toxins that are in perfumes that I want you to start becoming aware of, in particular because we're getting close, like I said, to Christmas and a gift-giving time of year. If you want to give someone a scent, maybe you are better off to start looking for people who make their own, or you make it for that person, or purchase natural alternatives. We'll talk about that towards the end. But you have to start becoming aware of this, and manufacturers have to put on their labeling, on their product labeling, which is often on the box of a perfume, they have to put what is actually in it. So any product that you purchase, especially in Australia, is meant to have the ingredients. They don't need to tell you exactly how much, but they do need to tell you what is in there. And because there's a thing called green marketing, which doesn't mean that it's good for us and the environment. What it actually means by green marketing is that they're just making it look good, really. So you don't want to get caught up in something that says that it is natural or includes less of something or does not include additional. These are common wording that I see on packets, especially food. But if we go back to the scents, just look at the ingredients, okay? And remember, you don't want deodorants that have aluminium in them. You don't want deodorants that have artificial colours. You want to steer away from bulk, mass-produced deodorants that have fragrances, because the fragrances, then if you flip across to the right-hand side of the screen from Health Maven, she has actually listed a whole heap of the dangerous chemicals which form part of those fragrances, okay? Now, perfumes. I didn't put this on the slide, so I will read this to you. But in perfumes, there's 5 top chemical ingredients that popular fragrances include. So it's more, yes, it's the components that make up the actual product. It's 2 layers in this. But then on top of that, it's more so what is in the fragrance. And this then also links across to air fresheners, okay? So it's what makes up a fragrance. So the top 5 chemical ingredients in popular fragrances include styrene, which is spelled S-T-Y-R-E-N-E. It's a flammable liquid used to make polystyrene plastics, fiberglass, rubber, and latex. In 2011, it was declared an anticipated human carcinogen by the National Toxicology Program and National Academy of Science. So with long-term exposure, it's known to cause central nervous system issues, kidney effects, headaches, depression, fatigue and weakness, hearing loss, balance and conditioning problems, concentration problems, and cancer. So when something is a carcinogen, it can just be, it's really interesting looking at the layers between government and regulatory bodies and the actual manufacturers. When you start to look, you start to see the layers of corruption and just Yeah, it's not cool. So you want to become aware as a consumer, and this is part of this presentation. So when something is a carcinogen, what it means, whether it's a potential carcinogen or it actually is, at the end of the day, they all are, but it means that really it can cause a whole heap of disease and really muck up your immune system and lead to things like cancer, basically. Now, over the years, we humans have gotten really good at manufacturing what we need, right? We got very comfortable with using raw materials and copying them in a laboratory, synthesizing them, and then producing a synthetic version of something that was already natural. Why? Because then we can make money off it, and then we can sell it, we can mass produce it. We don't have to worry about the seasons. We don't have to worry about the impact of plagues. We don't have to worry about any of that. We can have a consistent supply, and that was making consumers happy. Those days are coming to an end. We are now becoming more aware of what we purchase and what we consume. And that actually means that things are beginning to change with big business. And hopefully we won't see so much of this stuff into the future. But anyway, so we've got styrene's the first one. The second one is phthalates, which is spelled PHTHALATES. And that is actually a family of industrial chemicals that are used as solvents in cosmetics and other consumer products. So these are used to break things down. Solvents often bring a fragrance to the surface for you to be able to then utilize it. And in the perfume industry, they also use solvents to cut raw material so that they can get more use from that raw material or dilute it. So solvents are known to cause, these particular group of solvents are known to cause issues with the liver, with kidneys, with lungs and the reproductive system. There's a lot of studies, human studies, that confirm the adverse impacts on male reproductive tract development. And there's also different reviews going on in terms of testosterone levels. This is really important for men, obviously, and sperm abnormalities, but then also looking at the impact on neurodevelopment, the level of IQ, and again, attention and hyperactivity and poorer social communication. So if you think about what's happening to children, and more younger teenagers are using spray deodorants, and young girls love mass-produced perfumes. To me, it's a toxic shitstorm. I walk into somewhere like a chemist warehouse or some bulk manufacturer of these sort of things, and I get an instant headache because I cannot stand the smell. But that's because I have spent so many years clearing out my system, and my liver itself was overloaded from my own exposure to toxicity. And what happens is that when your liver is overloaded or your organs are overloaded, you can often then get exposed to something that you probably were used to for the last 20 years, and all of a sudden it gives you a headache. That's because there's a residue buildup, and as you get older, if you're not constantly clearing out your system, you can just do a quarterly cleanse or something like that. But if you're not looking after your organs and your system on a regular basis, you get that residue, you get that buildup, right? And then things change. We'll talk about that in a minute. Musk ketone is another one, and that gives the musky odor that's in a lot of cosmetics. And if you actually have a smell of most perfumes, there is a musk note to it. So I don't mean that really sweet, musky, lolly smell. You will often find that many perfumes just have that other layer there. So this is really bad. So high levels of musk ketone in women's blood may also be associated with gynecology abnormalities such as ovarian failure and infertility. But synthetic musks have also been linked to brain cell degeneration. So in a 2010 study, 17 test fragrances contained an average of 4 hormone-disrupting ingredients, each including synthetic musks, diacetyl phthalate. Synthetic musks mimic and displace natural hormones, which can potentially disrupt your endocrine and biological process. This is what's happening, Okay, now hormone disruption results in many issues. The first and foremost is changes in your skin and the onset of age issues. But the second thing, think about polycystic ovary syndrome, think about young girls having issues with their hormones that older women probably never experienced, middle-aged women entering into different hormone changes, all of a sudden having heaps of issues, and maybe they were a woman that used a lot of cosmetics when they were younger. This is all impacting us, okay? Benzyl acetate is found in a lot of things, but benzyl acetate is a compound that has a really sweet aroma similar to jasmine. It's used so much in perfumes and cosmetics for the aroma, and it's also used in flavoring. This is scary, right? Benzyl acetate you will find on the back of packaging for mass-produced sweets and things like that. Why? Because it imparts an apple or a pear type flavour. You've really got to be careful with this sort of stuff. The downside is it's a known carcinogen. Okay, it's known. The research is there. That means that finally the scientists have gotten through to the regulatory bodies and they've approved to say that yes, this is a known carcinogen. So that's benzyl acetate. It causes massive issues with pancreatic cancer. Now, pancreatic cancer is really nasty, very nasty, and it's not a pleasant death at all. And to think that as a consumer, you may not necessarily know that, and you're out there willingly purchasing this sort of stuff and putting it on your skin and putting it into your system, and then you're getting exposed to something that other companies and the regulatory bodies know is something that may cause this down the track. It's just criminal. So please become aware of that ingredient, benzyl acetate. The other one, the other biggie, is methylene chloride. It's a solvent that's used in many different types of work activities, such as paint stripping. It's used in degreasing, and since 1994, it's an ingredient that's been known to increase the risk of developing cancer, has adverse effects on the heart, the central nervous system, the liver, skin and eye irritation. However, it's only been labelled as a possible carcinogenic to humans. The FDA, which is the American Association or American equivalent to the TGA in Australia, has banned this ingredient in perfumes since 1988 due to its severe toxicity. However, the ban isn't enforced very well, and it may still be found in labels listing fragrance as an ingredient. So that's the catch, right? They can just list fragrance and then you don't know what is actually in it. The safe way to get around that is to learn how to create a different scent, or go find someone who's making natural perfumes. And there are ways to copy the mainstream perfumes, right? Perfume industry was created thousands or hundreds of years ago. Well, thousands of years ago. We've been using essential oils for thousands of years. But the perfume industry was created hundreds of years ago just to get rid of smell, plague, that sort of stuff. So we want to make sure that we are doing things to try and mimic. So you can get the Coco Chanel smells and find someone who is very passionate about creating natural alternatives, and they probably have a range of their own fragrances which will mimic that scent. If you've got someone young that you're purchasing perfumes for who really only likes, I don't know, whoever the latest celebrity is that's advertising some sort of perfume, you'll probably find a natural distiller or a natural perfumer or an aromatherapist who is focused on that and can recreate that sort of blend for you. So, yeah, big stuff, right? Lots of issues in there. We can avoid it altogether, right? Anything that says fragrant or perfume on the bottle, it's pretty much guaranteed there's going to have one of those chemicals in it as an ingredient at minimum. You can use a database when you're reading a label. There is a database that I'll share with you in the email that you can search. You can become really savvy and start to learn keywords, or just take it with you when you're going to purchase that sort of thing. Choose cleaner options. So go looking for natural essential oil based aromas, candles, diffusers. There's a whole heap of different things that you can get. start to explore roll-ons. And yeah, you just become aware of it, right? So it's not just what you put on your skin, it's also what you put in the air around you. Next slide. We have used aromas for centuries, okay? I've just popped up a couple of pictures on here that trigger that thought process around me. If you think about a memory that you have, so there's a lot of research into Alzheimer's and dementia and any memory, mind-related degenerative, so-called degenerative disease that humans may be experiencing. And there's a lot of research showing that smell can often help a human to recall memory. And I've seen this personally myself too, where someone has Alzheimer's and can't remember any of the people that come to visit them. But because they recognise the smell, so say it's a wife, this was a particular woman that was in care. She didn't know that the man was her husband. She actually thought she was only 8, like that was the memories that was happening in her mind. But her body knew that he was someone that was close to her and that she cherished because of his scent. So because of what he would wear, so his deodorant, what he washed their clothes in, all of that sort of stuff, that aroma was very familiar to her brain and to the cells in her body. So she knew that he was important to her. It's pretty powerful. Scent is extremely powerful. So think about when you smell fresh bread, you smell muffins cooking, maybe you're someone who loves the smell of a really nice hearty stew. Sorry if my internet is going a bit funny, hopefully it's all right. Really hearty meal or something like that top left corner where the woman is smelling the cup that looks like it's empty, but let's just imagine it's a cup of coffee. Especially for me, I love the scent of coffee. Yeah, it just creates that really strong connection with your mind. Some people love the smell of lavender because it reminds them of their grandmother, for example, or maybe rose. You love the smell of old-fashioned roses. This is where we're getting into the perfumery side of things, okay? Cologne. You might love the smell of a certain man's cologne. You will learn what the base ingredients are and all that sort of stuff. So good manners and good cologne is what transforms the man into a gentleman. Don't know about that at the moment. I'm not sure I've met many young gentlemen. But the power of sense is really important. So our nose has receptors in it, and we actually smell with our brain, not with our nose. So if you're someone who has experienced the side effect of the current virus that's floating around and you've lost your sense of smell and taste, it's okay because you can bring it back. You just retrain and educate the receptors that are in your mind and your gut, and that will help you to all of a sudden smell again. It's actually quite interesting when it happens. Just have a drink. And I'm not so sure about the women having a better sense of smell. I think men just get a bit lazy sometimes. Now, on to the next part that I alluded to before. You know, what happens when our body changes? Maybe you really liked the smell of something before, but now you hate it, or you can't stand it. Or maybe you really couldn't stand the smell of something before, but now you really like it. Over time, we have a residue buildup of toxins in our system. It comes through our water, our food, our soil, our environment. There's not much you can do in terms of stopping the toxins unless you want to live in a bubble. That's not practical. What you can do is to minimize the exposure to toxins around you. So that could be chemicals and things like that. We're becoming more aware of that now. We may spray less chemicals on our gardens and our weeds. But what you can do is you can do a little bit of a system cleanse. You can do a bit of a liver cleanse if you like. You can use supplements like milk thistle and dandelion. You can start to work with a naturopath. You can work with different people who will help you to reduce the build-up in your system, and that will then change your sense of smell again. Maybe your hormones have changed. That's another reason why sometimes your sense of smell changes. Now, talking of hormones, interestingly enough, at the end of the day, man is still animal. We're definitely not plant. And if you think about things this way, we know the smell of certain bodies. We know the smell of the towns that we live in. If you go to other countries, often, for me in particular, but often you will find that when you first get off the plane or you first get exposed to the air of that new country, it smells different. Things smell different. So that isn't our hormones, that's us as a human. That's our brain, that's our chemical makeup. Every human is different. And every environment around the planet is slightly different, and all trees put out different smells. You know, the ground puts out different smells on top of the things then that humans do around the place. Okay, so there's lots of reasons why your sense of smell may change. Primarily, but it's a toxin build-up within the system, or it's a hormone change. We're on for time. Oh, going really well. I did, for some reason, the Eventbrite event said 2 hours. We don't need 2 hours. So now what we're going to have a chat about is creating your own. It's a really good idea to start to look for alternatives. So like I said, you can find people who have built a business around utilising like soy candles, for example, and then using good essential oils as the scent, as the fragrance. You can learn more about your own plants in your garden and things like that. But what I've popped on this particular slide are just some illustrations of things to look for. So we know that we can often get perfumes in beautiful bottles. On the top left and the bottom right, you see a few different sizes of bottles. What I would recommend is when you first get started with applying oil-based perfumes, because when you put them on your skin, sometimes they smell different on different people, right? Perfumes often do the same thing, the spray ones. You can use atomizer applicators, which is the spray bottle, or you can just use roll-ons. Either way, when you're starting to work with different oils, natural solutions for your fragrance, personal fragrance, I would look into smaller quantities first, because when it's a natural product, it tends not to last as long. Okay, so you may have bought your favorite perfume when you were 20 and now you're 45. And sometimes that favorite perfume, if you haven't changed, will still smell the same when you take the lid off the bottle. That's a really good indication that it's full of preservatives and shit, because things in nature don't last that long. So when you're purchasing natural things, I would get smaller quantities, okay, and then just purchase more often. You can also add really cool rocks and stones and other minerals to your blends, or you can purchase from people who do that. And the bottom right contains flowers, obviously, and plant matter. And that can be a really beautiful addition to a subtle natural scent as well. And then in the center there, I have diffuser blends, a few that I personally like. I like the Citrus Love one, which is grapefruit, lime, and geranium. Now, they are essential oils. You can purchase beautiful essential oils. Just make sure that you're purchasing ones that are pure, or that are real, that are authentic, that are what they say they are. They aren't just a synthesized recreation of something and then labeled as natural. Now, I wanted to talk to you about how to blend. And before we do that, I might just add a note here, a side note. I should get my notes. What we can actually do when we start to create our own scent is that we can look at this from two perspectives, okay? Essential oils and plant material is quite therapeutic. Aromatherapists have known this for a very long time. You can go and see an aromatherapist with an ailment, a disease, a concern, an issue going on in your body, and they can provide you with a blend of essential oils to work with that ailment or concern, and at the same time it smells nice. So I encourage you to start now looking at perfumes and fragrances that you use in your home. Now, this is not a cleaning class, because cleaning products have fragrances too. This is just scent, okay? This is scent in terms of a perfume, a cologne, an air freshener, a deodorant. So when you start using this, begin to look at scents that can support your body and your mind, okay? And then you can go from there. So I'm going to give you an example of one of my favorites in a minute, and I'll tell you why. But in the center of this screen, blending like a boss. What does that term mean? Blend like a boss. Think of the mafia. The mafia has a boss. You want to be that boss. Be the boss of you. You know, blend like a boss. I could say other things. It's probably not appropriate, so I won't. But it just means be the best version of you, right? Don't ever be ashamed of loving the strange things that make your weird little heart happy. And dead center of that screen is what you want to know when you want to create your own perfumes. You want a base, then you want a middle, and then you want a top. What does that mean? They're notes. Notes were created in the perfume industry as different ways of layering scents on top of each other so that they last longer and so that smells good. You know, it adds a layer to it. If you are a cook, you're someone that likes to cook different foods, think about when you make a meal and you taste it and something's missing and you just need to add something else to it and it just makes it pop or it makes it taste amazing. That's what the layering is, okay? So as long as you have a base, a middle and a top, you're laughing. Now, I want to give you a few recipes here. There's some on the screen as well. So I know that VP's aftershave, it's beautiful. I love the smell of arbor vitae. Arbor vitae is a timber, it's a wood. It's like, think of freshly cut wood, that sawdusty type smell. It's quite earthy, quite grounding. But the positive side effect of that VP aftershave, for example, let's look at that one on the top right-hand side of the screen. Hawaiian sandalwood is amazing for your skin. Sandalwood is absolutely amazing for your skin. So it helps to regenerate the skin. It helps with fine lines. It helps. And remember, okay, your skin is an organ that is going to absorb what goes on it. So all of these things are blended together with a carrier oil, or you can use water, you can use witch hazel if you want it to be like a spritzer, but they will be absorbed into your skin and they will help your skin as well. So Hawaiian sandalwood is amazing for the skin. Arbor vitae is really, really good. There's a lot of research with arbor vitae and cancer. Same with frankincense and cancer. So arbor vitae is also but a great mosquito repellent, fantastic insect repellent. So it smells beautiful. You layer in it with two other really strong scents. So that is a very earthy man's type cologne. But that particular combination is really good for the internal working of the body as well as just smelling pretty, right? If you go down the bottom to the VJ's perfume, frankincense, again, good for the skin. Lavender, you can substitute lavender with geranium or with rose if you love that sort of smell, okay? Lavender, also good for the skin. It's very soothing. But lavender is also extremely soothing in terms of anxious feelings and looking after the emotional side of the body. And then we have orange. And orange is a citrus. It's a top note. It splashes off. What that means is that you may not smell the orange forever, okay? But you might smell the lavender for a while, and then the base note, frankincense, stays there for a long period of time. That's the layering side of it. I put that confidence blend in there for kids because it's actually quite good as well. So let's go back to the center. If you were to create a perfume, so if I think about my favorite scent, my most favorite scent has rose, arbor vitae, Douglas fir, so I'm going into the middle scent there with the Douglas fir, and spearmint, or I might use bergamot. So I've got two from the base. I only have one from the middle because I really, really like Douglas fir. Sometimes I might use Siberian fir as well. I love fir. I love the tree type smells. And then spearmint is my most favorite mint smell ever. It just has the most positive association for me. So what you do is you go through those and you put them together into your bottle, and then you top it up with a carrier oil. Now, what's a carrier oil? For those of you that don't know what a carrier oil is, it might be something like jojoba oil, grapeseed oil, almond kernel oil. This is up to you. Fractionated coconut oil. It's something that doesn't add scent, but carries your essential oils, okay, and then assists with the absorption into the skin. So that particular combination is very, very good for helping my system for cellular protection, to reduce inflammation, to help me feel calm, and it also helps in terms of protecting me against creating a sort of a barrier for my immune system against other things that people may bring in to me that I'm not used to being exposed to. That's a very long-worded way of saying some of those particular oils are antiviral and antibacterial, which means that I naturally don't pick anything up because I'm wearing them all the time. So there's different things for you to think about now when you're starting to look at the scent that's in your home. Now, the bottom left side, it's got a witch tip. I actually personally really love that. But the witch tip is to wash your front door. I wash the frames of my windows, the front door, every season. So every quarter, I'm cleansing the house at the same time as cleansing me. And I use marjoram, rosemary, and spearmint. It smells amazing. The mint helps to keep the bugs away. Peppermint, ants and mice don't like peppermint. Marjoram and rosemary are very, very cleansing, and they're both antibacterial and antiviral. So having those things applied to the external entry points of the house really help. And it smells beautiful. And I don't have to worry about having the air freshener plugged into the wall. I can also have a diffuser, and in the diffuser you can put your blends, so that all those ones that are on the right-hand side, you could put them straight into a diffuser. What is a diffuser? It's a container most of them are plug in the wall. They draw very little power. You put cold water into them up to a marker, and then you add your particular oils, essential oils, put the lid on, press a button, and it diffuses into the air the scent which is within the container. It normally has a vibratory plate, and that is what helps to create the diffusion, and they stay cold, which means that they don't add to mold or to the humidity that may be in your house already. And you can add into them things like eucalyptus, tea tree, which is melaleuca, and some peppermint, maybe some Roman chamomile, and that would help people with a chest infection. Thyme would be really good to help with a chest infection as well, okay? So there's lots of things that you can do with your perfumes that help to heal the body. Check my notes, make sure that's all I wanted to talk to you about. Yep, so I've told you how to blend, how to put things together. Oh, you want to remember, okay, that perfumes don't hide bad body hygiene. People still need to have a bath and a shower and clean themselves. However, they can help you to tolerate the smell of others more. I do chuckle about that because coming into summer, that does sometimes happen. So that is the main side of the presentation. Cool, 11:15. We're going really well. Hopefully everybody's in that one that's coming. What I want you to remember from what we talked about is awareness is key. This is about raising awareness. Become aware of what is in the products that you're purchasing, because whatever you put on your skin, your body absorbs. It either absorbs it through the lymphatic system, or it absorbs it, or both, into the blood, through the skin, into the circulatory system, and into your cardiovascular system. If your lymph nodes flare up, then you have something that you need to sort out within your body. If you walk into a store and you can smell things and you get a headache, it's a sign from your body that it doesn't like something that's been exposed to. Your sense of smell is your brain and your gut more so than just your nose, but your nose is what gives it access to your brain. Your nose also has very fine mucous membranes in there. It gives access to tiny particles. It gives tiny particles access, to your system, to your inner circulatory system, to your brain itself, and to every organ in your body. So you want to be very aware of what it is that you're smelling, and to remember that we can't actually see these tiny little chemical constituents that make up things called fragrances. You just have to trust what you're purchasing and where you're going. And when you start to look for your own scent, your own signature scent, if you like, remember that blend like a boss slide. Okay, you want a base note, which is often a very earthy smell. So it could be vetiver. Vetiver, as a side note, is something that's used in the perfume industry as well. But you want to use a base note. So myrrh, frankincense, vetiver, sandalwood, all those sort of things. They're base note. Patchouli, some people don't like patchouli, but a real strong base note. Then you want to add in your middle notes, and your middle notes are the ones that will provide you with the most fragrance, the most smell, and then you put in your top, which is your sweet smell at the start. I have a beautiful red rose in my front garden at the moment, and when you smell it, it's a perfect example of the way that nature creates a fragrance. So when you smell the rose, you smell a rose smell, you know, that sweet, subtle, perfumey smell. But then you get an after scent, which is like an orangey type smell. And then if you go back to the rose and smell it again, the combination smells different. So I believe that our scent should be something that changes with us, and that it leaves people with a curious note. It has people go, oh, you smell beautiful. What's that beautiful smell, that aroma? I feel so calm when I'm around you. It's probably because of what you're smelling when you're next to me, you know, that sort of thing. So just remember that your scent can heal you, heal your system, heal your physical system and your metaphysical system, works on your emotional body, works to calm your system down, to nourish your cells and to really support you. And I'll finish on this. Regardless of where you choose to purchase your products from, whether it's the raw ingredients, which is the bottle on the left, represents essential oils, please remember to choose a provider for your raw ingredients or for your finished product who is interested in making a difference. This is how we help the planet and the world and the people around us, by becoming conscious with our decisions, by becoming aware of our choices and conscious with our decisions. We can help others whilst helping ourselves. Perfect or beautiful example of this, I choose at the moment to work with a few different essential oil providers. One of them is a company called doTERRA. Why? Because I know that when they are purchasing or looking to purchase the raw ingredient for what they put into their bottles of essential oils that I purchase and use, they have worked with the local community that they're sourcing the product from. Vetiver is a very good example of this. It is a plant that is naturally grown for the best therapeutic qualities in Haiti, and the perfume industry tends to want it fast. And to get vetiver, it comes from the root of the plant, which means that it destroys the entire plant. They have mass-produced amounts of vetiver and will just rip it out of the ground at any maturity and use it and pay the people very small amounts. doTERRA went into that local community after they had the big issues with the water, the tsunamis and things like that, cyclones that just destroyed their communities, and helped them with their farming. And the vetiver that you purchase from good, ethical essential oil companies will have a very strong, dense smell because it's come from a mature plant. and the root system is really, really strong and really, really good. So I align with that because they look after the people who provide the products to me, which means that those people are more inclined to look after the earth, and that helps the planet. So making a positive difference. Now, from my heart to yours, thank you very much for coming along to our little class this morning. I hope that you have gained some insight. Cool. So what I'll do, I'll just check out comments in a minute. But thank you so much for popping that on there, because that way we can see it all. Yeah, cool. So what are my thoughts in terms of that? I don't like the smell of jasmine. So this makes it quite interesting, right? So this is when we can get into the personal side of things. I'll leave the recording with this as well so that other people can see this, and by all means ask your questions. I don't personally like to use absolutes. I will tend to find alternatives. You don't have to use jasmine. You don't have to use rose absolute, for example. I know that lang lang, because of the delicacy of the flower, is also an absolute a lot of times. But what we want to be aware of with the benzyl acetate is it synthetic or is it natural? Is it produced naturally as a chemical constituent of that particular plant? Because chemicals are, everything has a chemical makeup. Does that make sense? Sorry, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. So I wouldn't be, I just would not use jasmine at all. I tend not to, or I look for ways to use it if it has to be used. And you can often use other scents instead. Different effects on health depending on whether the same molecule has been synthesized. Yes, massive differences to health, whether the molecule has been synthesized rather than isolated from the essential oil. Isolation is a really interesting point, okay? You use essential oils because you are using the entire component of the plant. That is why I personally use essential oils. With the health side of plant medicine, isolating a particular compound removes the support that comes from the others around it. I hope that makes sense. I do remember listening to a talk in one of the lectures that I attended, and it was around a essential oil which has similar chemical constituents to CBD and cannabis side of things, but it is not the same plant. It's actually from a tree and it's a resin, but it provides the same benefit to the human system as what can be gained from using CBD oil in terms of the anxiety, the calming in the body. Pharmaceutical companies are very interested in that particular essential oil and in that plant, but they want to know the one compound. They want to know the one thing that can be pulled out of it that will give the greatest benefit, and that they want to patent and turn into a medication. And you can't do that because we don't know with certainty what it is in that natural product. We know that it's helping the body, but we don't know for sure that it is X molecule that does it. Does that make sense? Yep, grapefruit. A lot of citrus oils will actually increase the sensitivity to the sun. Thanks, Deb. Yeah, so a lot of actually that's a really good point, and I will add that because it is in some of those blends. The flower blends that I shared in the middle of that screen, they're diffuser blends, but if you choose to turn them into a perfume and you're using them with a carrier oil, you want to have a look at the protective qualities of your carrier oil. I know that coconut oil has a natural SPF, but where you see phototoxic, so for others that are looking at this, where you see phototoxic, or if a citrus oil is on your skin, like bergamot, for example, or however you want to say it, it will increase your sensitivity to the sunlight. What that means is that you don't lather yourself in that particular essential oil and go out and bake in the sun, because you literally will bake. I like grapefruit for the therapeutic side of things and for the uplifting quality that's in it. And I tend to use grapefruit more as a flavouring than a scent, or in a diffuser. I don't use it as a perfume. Let me think. What else do I want to say to answer that? Obviously, do your own research and things like that around it. And you sound quite knowledgeable, which is really cool. I would not use a synthetic alternative to any citrus oil when making a natural perfume, because that's me personally. Synthetic, you could use it, but I wouldn't. So the whole idea behind this is to make you aware of what is in perfumes and in general fragrances that are not good for our system. So I would really veer away from adding anything not good for our system in, basically. But thank you for your questions. It's really good. Alrighty, so that's the end of our presentation, or the end of our discussion. If you have other questions, when I send you the email with the recording from this, please feel free to email me back. I've got my email address on there for direct contact. You can follow me on Eventbrite, which is how you found this event, Instagram or Facebook, Facebook D. Or my website is there too, which I am continuously changing and updating. So have a fabulous, fabulous day wherever you are and whatever you're up to. And I will be seeing you all again soon, hopefully. Stop our recording.